Kaplan and Holland model of health promotion, 1990. Key features: more complex and theoretically driven. Some of these things, when you're dealing with these models, at times they can be just as complex as they can be. Because again, you're dealing with human beings, you're dealing with different factors, society, cultures, availability of resources, availability of access, knowledge. It's far more complex than just saying, okay, one or two things are responsible for poor health. It myriad of factors. Attempts to unpick what determines health and illness or ill health, and therefore what activities can be used to address them, or can what activities can be used to address health issues. It's again starting from, it's complex. So most of the time it's not just one thing. It's a host of things that are involved. In some cases, it can be the environment. In some cases, it can be the culture. In some cases, it can be the resources. In some cases, it's just the value, the structures and the value structure of the communities. Some of it can be natural. You see, just nature by itself has a way of doing things, especially with these days with these unpredictable climatic conditions wherein it rains exceedingly, in one area, and in other areas it's hardly any rain. You think of fires, you think of snow. All of these things, most of the time, even though they are very, very important in really trying to address health related issues, but there are times it's just as complex. So the best thing is you go as you deal with them as you know what at that point that could be the possible solution. Try to address that, just as the saying, you deal with the low hanging fruit. Those things that are clear, about, you try them and see. That can lead you to further knowledge as to how best you can address the situation. Always start with the simple, those things that you can correct. Correct those, then you work your way towards the complex. One axis refers to a theory of knowledge and how knowledge is generated in relation to health. The other axis refers to how society is constructed and how this impacts one's health. See, there are times you say, okay, maybe knowledge might be able to impact the structure, the way society is structured. At times it's possible, but there are certain times wherein you have some cultures that have high health beliefs. The knowledge alone by itself does not necessarily mean it's going to impact the way the society is structured. A good example, even in this country, racism has been known to be very destructive for minorities. But most structures are still structured to deprive minorities from access to resources that can improve their own overall health. So at times it's again, just as what they said, theoretically it's very, very complex. Application to domestic violence. You have the radical humanist. They say, okay, provide, whenever you talk of domestic violence, most of the time it refers to you talking about women. Provide supportive network and self-help group and use of safe house to provide women or to remove women from violence. See, living conditions, certain times women live in certain conditions that are just toxic in all forms. And until you can be able to remove them from that environment, you can go there and stop the violence for a moment. But after some time, it comes again. So one of the safe ways that is put them into safe houses. Because why most of the time women don't live toxic environment or homes is simply because where can they go? It's because you don't want to be homeless. So what happens? You put up with situations that otherwise will be just as destructive to them. So according to the radical humanists, there should be a way wherein these women should be taken away from this toxic environment, taken away from their abusers, provide safe houses for them, and provide added support, not only taking them, but also they need added support, food, and other things that they might need. Now, also help women to gain more power by developing economic and social power, work, and strong network. See, because most of the time it's this idea of dependency. But when you create the opportunity for women to gain meaningful employment, develop good network, they will not have to succumb to some of these wretched conditions that create so much havoc, so much punishment for them. So it's one of those situations wherein it's extremely important. The radical humanist approach is a woman is experiencing domestic violence, try to remove her from that environment to a safe house, and also create conditions wherein they can gain meaningful employment. There is always something special about somebody who is able to take care of themselves. To create those opportunities wherein women can be able to take care of themselves. Create those business women network, network wherein some women can be created by just create their own business, employ other women, and also create a very strong social system in which those individuals who victimize women should be punished. so that kind of foolishness that they have, that they can exhibit their frustration towards the women, should be taken away from their psyche. Because at times, some of them at times might be frustrated, especially their male partners, might be frustrated with other issues far from the women. But the women become the kind of the punching bag, the displays aggression. So to make short situations, or to remedy such situations, is to remove the women from those conditions, take them to safe houses. And most of the time, it's not only women, they can be also women with children. So you take them from those wretched environments to safe houses. But again, does the society, the culture, do they have those things? Do they have those safe houses? Because most of the time is good to talk about it, but do they really have those structures that can support those women once they leave those toxic environments? Create economic empowerment, create that social network so that they can empower the women to make their own decision concerning their own safety. Then you go to the humanist, working with women and men directly so that they can understand the nature of their experiences and what they can do themselves. Use cognitive behavioral therapy approach to understand the issues and change behaviors. You see, because most of the time in domestic, when you're talking about domestic violence, it's very easy to make the assumption that it's only the woman that is suffering. There are certain times wherein it's also the male. The male is also suffering. So one of the ways is to bring both together, talk to them. What are your issues? What gave rise to this? Do you love each other? Do you respect each other? All will say, oh, yes, I do, I do. And the next minute, something happens. So the best way to do that is bring both together, find out what are the issues. Because most of the time, the issue that is leading to the violence is not really issue that is caused by any of them. It's some of those external issues. Being fired from my job, can't find a job. My life is becoming miserable, feel hopeless, get aggravated, want to lash out. See, these are all possible human reactions, but they are all the worst sort of reactions. Being fired from my job, why were you fired? What can you do to make sure that you get another job and keep it? I got drunk and I decided to just be, then why do you have to drink? If you say you love somebody, why do you drink and end up hurting someone that you said you love? See, most of the time is some of these things people have to really be sincere, and don't use each other, because again, it's getting to the point. It's not only men that are abusing women. Some women are also abusing other women, and some women are also abusing men. So the word abuse is becoming a real challenge for both sexes. And there has to be a better way in which some of those things can be addressed. And most of the time, the issues are really not at the home. They are external issues from the environment, from the structures within the external um, nature that people bring into their homes and create this combustive situation wherein one or both partners just become abusive to each other. So it's extremely important for people to understand. You work with both men and women, find out the root causes of their issues, see how best those issues could be addressed. Okay, the nature of society. You have the radical structuralists working to reduce power inequality between men and women through legislation for gender equity. Reduce the power that exists between men and women, because some of those powers most of the time create that structure which or create that platform that brings about this idea of I am this, I'm better, I bring more money, I bring more this, I bring this, I am. See, most of the time is people have to work within legislative structures, equal pay for equal work. That has to be, if we are all, if I'm a professor and you are a professor, a male and a female, we get the same amount. Working in the store, both of us doing the same, we get the same amount. Yes, there are certain things that at times makes it difficult for women to stay on the workforce, especially when they are the reproductive phases of their lives. To give birth, you take care of the family, take care of the infants most of the time, but that does not make them inferior. Because even though the man, okay, the male or whosoever goes brings the money home, don't make them superior, because the home is a holistic entity. Every part plays an equal role. Trying to separate this from that most of the time creates a falsehood of what the home is. Well, whoever brings whatever, put it in a common pot, used to serve the needs of the family. The system should be structured. There should be some legislation for gender equality. Men and women are different because there are certain roles that we perform differently. One of those roles is women have the ability to bring to life another human being with the assistance of the male. The male cannot carry any living organism and bring it to bear. The only living organism that is not part of them that they carry could just be infections. But other than that, the woman has a special ability to be able to carry its kind and then deliver and bring it to adulthood, from infancy to adulthood. And that should not be considered as a weakness. Issues to be taken seriously by criminal justice systems. Well, again, I think for quite some time, men have been in charge of the legal system. And the way issues have been addressed have been kind of lopsided. I think it's getting to the point wherein some of those things should be addressed appropriately. Equally, equal right. It's interesting that up to this present moment, there is still issues talking about differences between women and men when it comes to pay, when it comes to serious other different rights. We thought we had advanced to a point. Well, no. So one thing with human being, at times we appear to change, but in reality, we are very, very slow to change. That's why you hear people talking from both sides of their mouth when it comes to equality between men and women. Oh, I respect my women. I respect my wife. I respect my child. But when it comes to issues dealing with abuse, whose side are you on? Because when you are respectful to all, you are helping all. You are helping everybody else. A society wherein violence against women is seriously frowned upon, most of the time you will find out that that society will change its act. See, the old boys game should stop. Women should be given that full respect for everybody, male, female, boys, girls should be given full respect, because some of those attitudes most of the time start very early. Parents, when they start giving preferences to their boys at the expense of their daughters, or give preferences to their daughters at the expense of their sons, treat both equally. Start there. And when they grow up, treat both equally. Because a boy who is from a home who sees, who has a sister or who watches the reaction between his father and mother start to get certain lessons. Let those lessons be guided by respect, by love, charity, and caring, honesty. Because most of the time, it's hard to, but we start to learn some of these bad habits from our parents. What do we exhibit? And parents, what do you say to your child, to your child daughter about your son? Or what do you say to your son about your sister, about your child and daughter? See, they should always promote a healthy environment. And when there are issues, they should be taken seriously by the criminal justice system. Social unacceptability of issues generated through advocacy and lobbying. Because it gets to a point wherein if it gets to, then there should be groups who can lobby and can be advocates to correct some of these inequalities. Then you have the traditional treatment of injuries. Educational campaign about the issue to raise awareness and change attitude to domestic violence in population. That's the traditional. You campaign. First of all, you know what are the issues. Then you develop educational intervention material to educate those people so that they can change those attitudes from attitudes of violence to attitudes of respect and love and caring for each other. Key principles in health promotion. Principles are important as they relate to how we should work in practice. The World Health Organization provides a global perspective. Greg and O'Hara provide a good synthesis of many of these. Focus on upspring approach. He said, sometimes it feels like this. There I'm standing by the shore of a swiftly flowing river, and I hear the cry of a drowning man. So I jumped into the river, put my arms around him, pull him to shore, and apply artificial respiration. Just when he began to breathe, there is another crying for help. So I jumped into the river, reached him, pulled him to shore, apply artificial respiration. And then just as he begins to breathe, another cry for help. So back in the river again, reaching, pulling, applying, breathing, and then another yell. again and again without end goes the sequence. You know, I am so busy jumping in, pulling them to shore, applying artificial respiration, that I have no time to see who the hell is upstream pushing them in. See, at times, fixing situation alone is great, but the best way to fix the solution is, what is the root cause? Why are we having these problems? See, there is a reason. See, until we are able to really honestly, because most of the time we try to address some of these issues, but because we are ashamed that maybe some of these findings might make us really look so bad, you stop halfway, and now you start putting the panacea, the solution, trying to heal. Now, it's like, stop. This is an emergency situation. But while he was trying to pull them from the river, bringing them to life, somebody else should have been going back to investigate who is really pushing these people into the river, or were they pushing themselves into the river? And what is the root cause? Because most of the time when it comes to dealing with health issues, people are much more interested in providing that penicillin. Oh, I have a bruise, or I have a this. They go clean it, put the bandage. Maybe when it comes to some of the, especially with domestic violence, if you're dealing with a patient and this patient keeps coming with this problem into your practice, you should stop and say, okay, what is really happening? What is the root cause? What do we need to do to address some of these things? Because if you don't go and put a stop to it or find a way to address it, it will be an ongoing. Say you have a car. Every morning you find out that your tank is empty. You go, you fill it up. You do your errands every day. But in the morning you see some oil or something, the floor. Instead of taking the car to get that fixed, that hole, that leak closed, you pour another certain amount of gas into your tank. Yeah, that will help you for some time, but it's risky because someday that gas will blow up and you will never be able to solve the situation. In most cases, the way we deal with a lot of issues, we don't face the real truth. We don't go and ask the real questions. Why is this happening? What do we need to do? Instead, we are busy mending the symptoms. The symptoms can be mended for a temporary, it's temporary. But if you want a permanent solution, you have to go to the root cause. You have to understand why this is happening. And most of the time, it's a good chunk of it is poverty. Just poverty. Lack of resources. And when there is limitation of resources and men want to assume that they are in charge, but here they are ashamed of finding out that they cannot even take care of their families. And some might result into violence. So again, society has to really go to the root cause of some of these things to help address some of these problems. You have the non-victim blaming approach. Victim blaming is an approach to health education, which only focuses on individual action rather than the external forces that influence an individual person, resulting in blaming people for their own health behavior and related consequences. See, that's we're good at that, victim blaming. Victim blaming is an approach to health education, which only focuses on individual action rather than the external forces that influence an individual person, resulting in blaming people for their health behavior and consequences. Most of the time, especially you think of, okay, people in poor neighborhoods. They are poor because they don't have some basic health, good quality, and grocery stores, healthy food, healthy food produce. They eat things that are rich in salt, fat, and all those things that everything being normal create healthy, unhealthy outcomes. We intend to blame those people. Why are you this? Why are you that? And you can find out there are more drug stores surrounding poor neighborhoods than there are pharmacies. Again, alcohol, cheap alcohol around those neighborhoods. So what do these people do? People at least will live within their environment. Because they cannot either afford the cost of the alcohol in some of those upper neighborhoods, or they are not wanted. So they shop in their own neighborhood using cheap alcohol that has some drastic health outcomes. So most of the time, victim blaming is a cop out that people, especially in public health, should address some of those surrounding factors, those external forces that contribute to some of these situations. talking about violence, in most cases, lack of opportunity. People feel left out, and they might likely result to certain behaviors. So again, practitioners should resist victim blaming as it does not show understanding of the influences of health behavior. See, we in health education or public health should not easily, whenever you see somebody engaging in certain behavior, oh, well, that person is this, they are this. No. Look beyond that behavior. What is causing that behavior? Nobody wants to be in pain. Nobody, everything being normal, wants to be obese. Nobody wants to be hypertensive. Nobody, or at least most people don't want to be in a situation wherein they are rude to others. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be viewed as a human being who deserves respect. But most of the time, because of the imbalances within society, some people are looked at high esteem, high regard, others are looked as piece of what? And at the end of the day, we are all human beings. And when those people that are looked down upon, it gets to a point wherein they become frustrated. And some of them engage in behavior that is not healthy. You see, and especially in these days, those people who are using division among people to gain power, they are doing the worst thing to humanity. You sowing division among people to gain power. That is a short-term power, because in the long run, those same people will want something more, and you will not be able to give them. And who will be the next victim? Is you, Mr. Power. At times we have to also be careful in the way what we do to people within our respective societies. Instead, practitioners should consider the social and economic experience of people's lives, and which may explain how and why people behave in the manner they do. You have the evidence-based practice. Evidence-based practice is concerned with trying to understand which approach and method of working are likely to produce the strongest health improvement. You see, because you don't make the assumption that because this practice worked in one community, in one state, therefore it's going to work equally in the other state. No. Again, it's always just like as I said, the guy was busy going into the river, taking people that were drowning, one after the other, without really stopping and say, oh, why are these people drowning? or who is really throwing these people, if at all it was somebody throwing them into the river. Because that is a way it could be stopped. So for instance, like right now, there is this discussion in the country about this immigration. People from some of the poorer countries in South America fleeing to the United States. Everything being normal. Yes, there's something special about the United States. But at the same time, it's not so special that people should risk their lives wanting to come to the United States. And just still they do. So people need to go and find out what is really making this happen. And try as best as possible to solve or find ways in which people will want to stay in their countries, will want to do the best that they can for themselves. The principle of generating evidence by providing stronger evaluation of programs and initiatives as they are developed and implemented, and encouraging the utilization of the existing evidence based by practitioners are both key principles of practice. You have to see what works and what does not. If the solution is always the same for quite some time, then it means it's not working. Because there has to be a point wherein you should stop applying solution. Things should get normal. So best practices is always very important. Participation implies being present and taking part. Again, one of the things that we, in public health, you always have to have the input of the individual for whom the intervention is being prepared for. Or in fact, in developing the intervention, their input is extremely important. Do not prepare an intervention or a way of solving. Say, for instance, there's a drug problem in the society, and all you do is you use secondary data, because some people have studied it and this. Yeah, good data. But the best thing you can do is you have to engage those people who are using the drug in that community. Let them tell you what are the motivating factors. What is their desire to solve this problem? What are some of the experiences they as users really don't like? But unfortunately, because they are addicted, they go back to the same issues. See, these are all the revolving, situation. People don't like it. Going back to those abusive and domestic situation. Have a fight with their wife or family members. Regret about having done that or having done whatever they did, and later on, when situations get to the point again, they do the same thing again. So there has to be something that has to be extracted from that society or that relationship. Because if that thing is not extracted, it's just like putting a bandage on a wound without even cleaning it. It's always better. By doing so, you empower people. Empowerment is an approach that facilitates people's working together to increase the control that they have over events that influence their lives and health. So some of these things is just not one person. You need a group. Could be family members, could be friends, each one supporting each other. When one is down, one picks the other up. Encourage. Say, because as a team, there's very little that cannot be done. Given that a definition of health promotion is about taking control, then these two interlinked concepts are fundamental to how we act as practitioners. You involve the individuals who are who are the victims. Let them be part of the solution, and they all work together. You empower them to make sure that they are able to address the issue that is at hand. Very important. Because when you involve the individual, you educate them, they know what is the issue. It's very easy. Now, collectively, when they work together as a team to address an issue. Equity in health is concerned with fairness and the idea that everyone should have equal right to the fullest health possible. Again, every life is possible. Can everybody be healthy? Or can we define everybody to have the same type of health? No. But they should be able to have their own health in the fullest possible way. The term inequality enshrines an unfair distribution of health status. E.g., poorer health is experienced in low or lower social class because they don't have equal access to behaviors, to resources, to treatment that can promote them, that can help them maintain good health. Health should be more equally distributed, and that health promotion approaches should, as a high priority, address health inequality. Health promotion should be more equally distributed, and that health promotion approaches should, as a high priority, address health inequalities. Policies and projects are now being evaluated to assess their impact on health equality. to reduce the disproportional impact on those that already experience poorer health, using a technique known as the health equity audit. The health equity audit. Health Development Agency, 2003. Ethical principles. There are 4 major ethical principles outlined in Naidoo and Wills, 2009. Autonomy, respect for the rights of individuals and their rights to govern their own lives. That's 1. 2, beneficence. Beneficence, doing and promoting good, but we will need to consider who's good, the individual or wider group. At times, there are times wherein you see certain goods. Whose goods are we really promoting? Then you have the non-maleficence. You're doing no harm. Just as the vow that doctors take, do no harm. Doing the best that you can. Because at times, even with the best intentions, certain things can happen. But if you're going in with the intention of doing no harm, most of the time you have a better outcome. Justice. People should be treated equally and fairly. Extremely important. See, even though you think some of these are health-related issues, but you can use some of these issues on all the social disciplines. Respect for the rights of individuals. Promoting good, but you need to consider who's good, the individual or the wider group. Do no harm, and justice. Then you have the summary. The scope of health promotion is varied and diverse and not limited to health education. See, because again, as you see, health, even though it falls under some of this, health education or health promotion, is sociology, is anthropology, is psychology, is history, is philosophy. It's health is the whole person. And most of the time, the behavior or the issues that person experiences in life involves all these other disciplines. It just depends on what lens is used in those disciplines to focus on the health of the person. Think of economics. You might think, the economics is very, very important. So in order to address health issues, a wider range of health promotion approaches should be used that directly address the wider upstream determinant. approaches should be evaluated on the basis of key health promotion principles. Okay, students. We'll pick up here the next time. You take care.